Welcome back, everybody, to Two Fools in Fantasy Football. Hope everybody had a great off season. Your teams drafted who you wanted them to draft, and everybody's looking forward to doing all their drafts fantasy football wise. So, as always, I am Marty McFly, and with me, ever so lovely tonight, is
I am Tyler, the uncool fool. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you all had a great off season. I hope you had lots of good time here in the off season, the summertime. Like Marty said, I hope you all drafted exactly who you wanted this year. It was a crazy draft. It all started at the very top, number 3, San Francisco, trading up a plethora of draft picks to get their main man and Trey Lance, which shocked the football world. And it's really cool that Marty is actually wearing Miami's Dolphin jersey because that's who they traded with. And also, too, on top of this, so with the Larry Tunsil trade now officially done, Miami got 4 first-round picks for trading him to the Houston Texans, believe it or not. So Larry Tunsil, that was the best picture that surfaced ever for the Miami Dolphins, dropped down to number, I think, 10 or 13, somewhere in there. Got him, traded him for 4 first-round draft picks. So whoever sent that picture up, Miami needs to send him a gift basket, a cheese basket, some kind of basket. So, anyways, I just had to put that out there. And then, in case we're all not living under a rock, man, Aaron Rodgers and the drama with the Green Bay Packers, that turned out to be a complete wash. So for fantasy purposes, Devontae Adams, man, all signals go, all signals green. Me personally, I would love to see him in the Denver offense with those legit wide receivers. I would love to see what him and Jerry Jeudy could do together for 1 year. I think that would be so much fun to watch, especially with Kansas City, Oakland, and the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that would have been a fun division to watch. But anyways, so we're going to talk a little bit of fantasy here. We're going to talk about some guys who you might want to stay away from who are actually overhyped, overdrafted this year. And we're going to give some examples why you want to stay away from them and some guys who are actually below the radar. Some guys who you might want to draft in the 10th, 11th, 12th round who might end up being those guys who were studs, a.k.a. Justin Jefferson.
That's true.
So the first guys we're going to talk about are the running backs. The first guy I'm going to talk about this year who's being ranked right now about 6th or 7th overall is Ezekiel Elliott. And it's not a shot on him because he's a Cowboy. It's not a shot for anything whatsoever, other than the fact that last year he played almost all the games. He severely underplayed. He was overweight. He didn't look like himself. Could have been bar injury. Could have been also part of the offensive line issues. Also not having your number one quarterback is always going to do that to you where they're going to load up the box and have some different issues. So on that side with him being overdrafted, and the reason why I say it last year is he was about 3rd or 4th last year off most people's boards. There's another guy for Philly, Sanders, the running back, who is about 12th or 13th. So if you look at the board this year, Sanders, for some reason, is going about 29 to 32 in that range, and Zeke's about 7 or 8. So with that being said, they're very similar last year. Number-wise, they had similar production. So that's just 2 guys who I feel like on the plane, if you look at the scope of things, now Zeke can come back. He is that guy who can be the 1A running back for you. But with this, I feel like he's overrated just because of the fact that you don't know what Zeke you're going to get. And having a guy who had similar production in Sanders last year in Philly, we can get in the 3rd round and Zeke in the 1st round. Those 2 guys, Zeke's a little too high for me, and Sanders is a little too low for me based on the production on how they're evening out from last year.
Yeah, I agree with you right there. Hopefully, with Dak coming back, Zeke will get his buddy back, and his production will be up. It's like once Dak went down, Zeke he looked like he didn't want to play, so he wasn't happy with the Red Rocket handing him the ball the rest of the season. So.
No. So, yeah, and the Red Rocket now is in Chicago being a backup to a rookie, which will be fun to watch too as well. Yeah, so that's a couple of guys that you want to keep your eye on. Some more guys from the running backs who I think you would want to look maybe being a little bit above their draft grade. One guy I have my eye on being a little bit higher than the 29th, 30th overall pick he's being projected is J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, last year, Baltimore was the number 1 rush defense. I know a lot of people say it's a 3-headed monster with him, Jackson, and Gus Edwards, which I completely understand. But if you can get a guy who you know is going to be a huge chunk of the best rushing offense in the NFL at the 3rd round, maybe even the 4th round, depending if you play in a 10-team league, 12-team league, however that works, to get him at that kind of value to me is something that's really good, especially some guy because, and this year they're playing 17 games. So let's not kid yourself. They're going to need more running backs. They're going to have more rest. They're going to have more time where they're not going to have as big of a game plan, a biggest part of the game plan that they had in the years past because they need to keep these guys fresh. But also to having a team that had the most rushing yards last year, having a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, having a guy like that, getting them 30th overall makes a lot of sense. To me, he's a little bit lower than what I would like to see. And also the last guy I'm going to say that is too low on the draft board is Zach Moss for the Buffalo Bills. Last year he was a rookie, had a really tough year. All reports are indicating right now he was just absolutely taking that job and running with it, literally and figuratively speaking. He is head and shoulders above Singletary last year too. For a short amount of time, he also was their lead back at the goal line too as well. So look for that to be at least the worst that you're going to see out of him because they're going to want to protect Josh Allen after they just gave him basically the whole truck. They just backed that up the other day. So you're going to want Zach Moss in the goal line situation. He'll get you some cheap and easy points here. And he's looking like the 10th, 11th round. He could be the steal. And I mean this too, and I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan, but he could be the steal this year of fantasy football.
Yep. I see him going like he's in like the 60s, 70s, 80s, going real late. So, yeah, he's definitely an RB2.
Maybe.
Not really an RB1 yet, but maybe next year. But he's good for a flex or your RB2 or one weekend. You need your backup running back. So
yeah. And in case y'all see that in the background, my dog agrees with you too. That's why her head's up out of the covers. Yes. So she heard Zach Moss and she got really excited. So obviously, but anywho, blah. Next thing we're talking about is the quarterbacks. Marty, go ahead and take it. Give us a quarterback who you think this year is going to absolutely crush it, who's going to absolutely just blow by his value, and a quarterback who you're a little apprehensive of maybe drafting that high.
I think for someone who is going to outplay, I think Matt Stafford in LA. A lot of people aren't giving him the benefit of the doubt of giving his age, but you also have to look at who he's playing with now. The receiving core he has now, and Kupp and Woods, tossing in the backfield too. But I think he is going to be very high this year, at least maybe top 6, top 5 passing this year with that offense, especially with his young head coach too, who likes to sling the ball around also. Another one that I think is overdrafted. If I had to take one guess, I think maybe Russell Wilson. I just don't. He had a great season last year, but he was at MVP numbers at the beginning of the season and kind of fell off at the end. I don't know if his age is catching up with him, but I just don't think he's going to be that high of a pick or that have a great of a season. I know he's got DK Metcalf back there also, but I think people are going to start double teaming him a lot more than they did last year. I mean, Tyler Lockett's still a threat, but he's not the threat that DK Metcalf is. So those are my 2 picks for the quarterbacks that are a little bit too high, and a little bit too, I think a little bit too low and too high on my list.
Yeah. The one guy who I have too low on this list actually is Dak Prescott for the Dallas Cowboys. The reason why I have him too low, I know, most of them have him at 4th or 5th, but last year, the way he played, he was playing at an MVP level. He was playing, in my personal opinion, other than maybe Kyler Murray at like points and maybe Josh Allen at points. And this is just like small tidbits, but to me, he was playing above and beyond the rest of the quarterbacks in the league. Not because he wanted to, because he had to. Dallas defense last year couldn't stop anybody. If you watch the games at when he was there, if I remember correctly, I think he had close to a 600-yard game like twice almost, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And he had like
5 games. He had 2 500-yard games in 5 games.
Yeah, and he had a couple of, I think, 4 or 5 TD games too as well. So to me, Dak Prescott, I know coming back from injury is always risky, but with him and his mentality, and I mean, he's just a fighter, and he's everything to the Dallas Cowboys. And like you said earlier, when Zeke stopped playing last year, the Dallas Cowboys, their heart left when Dak left. plain and simple. So with that being said, a lot of guys are going to have chips on their shoulders this year. They're going to be playing their you-know-what off. I'm not going to cuss, but I think Dak Prescott, he's rated about 4th or 5th. It wouldn't surprise me if he's number 1 or 2 at the end of the year. I could see him and Mahomes being number 1, number 2 very, very easy this year in the quarterbacks for all that. So, and for the one that's too low, I wholeheartedly agree with Marty. I see Matt Stafford as a top 10 quarterback. Marty has him a little bit higher than I do. I got him about 8 or 9. That's where I feel like is a very comfortable spot with him. Anyways, that's where I see all that personally. So I definitely agree with Marty on the Matt Stafford 110%. One other quarterback who I could definitely see being a little bit higher than his draft status is Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville Jaguars. And just because of the fact that, he's got Urban Meyer and Jacksonville's going to be behind a lot of games, so he's going to have to throw a lot. So he might get a lot of garbage time points. So he might help out in that aspect too at the end of the year because, Jacksonville is not the team that's going to be, 10-6. They're not going to be, 11-6 now. I got to get used to that.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. 11-6, 10-7. They're not probably going to be that team. They might be more of an 8-9 team. 6-11 team, so that's probably where we're going to be. So they're probably going to come back a lot to come back in the deficit. So look for him to throw a lot this year too as well. So, all right. So now we're going to go to the wide receivers. So we're going to talk about some wide receivers who are rated too high and some who are rated too low. And so, Marty, so give us the ones who you feel like are overrated right now. Some guys who you might skip in the draft or let somebody else take them because you feel like their value is a little too skewed right now.
I think it's hates to say it, but Amari Cooper. I am a Cowboys fan and I love him, but he's too inconsistent. He'll have 2 good games of getting you 20, 30 points, and then you're like, all right, start it for the rest of the season, and he gets you 10, 11 for the rest of the year. So, because I think CeeDee Lamb is, I think CeeDee Lamb is going to overtake him as the number 1 receiver in Dallas this year. It's just inevitable. So, I mean, Amari Cooper's getting up there in age. I mean, CeeDee's on his 2nd year. So, I think Amari Cooper is too highly valued, in my opinion. And for someone that's too low that you should be on the lookout for, man, it's tough. There's so many good, 2nd-year guys out there and 3rd-year guys that are just – if I had to choose one, I would say maybe Hardman for Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, that's a great pick.
He's under the radar because everybody's about Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Yep. So getting Hardman in there as a wide receiver 2 or as your flex, if you need him for that, is a decent pickup. He'll get you some decent points every single week. So he's kind of one that's kind of a bit lower that you could get in, around 8, 9, maybe 10, could pick him up as a good late round pickup. So,
yeah, that's a great point. I kind of forget about him because in Kansas City you think of the big 3. Mm-hmm. I guess you could say a big 3 in football. I guess you could say Kelce, Mahomes, and Hill. Yeah, but Hardman, he's gonna be the number 2 this year. I forgot his name right now. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but he left for free agency to Baltimore, who was a receiver last year. I'm just drawing a blank on his name right now, but which leaves a huge hole for their receiving corps. You know what I'm talking about, Marty? I'm trying
to think of his name.
He got drafted 5th overall by the Buffalo Bills, then signed with the Chiefs. Sammy Watkins.
Oh, Watkins, okay.
Watkins, holy crap. I just totally drew a blank. I know where the guy got drafted, but I can't remember his freaking name. It's so great. Right. Great. Yeah, but, I agree with that. Amari Cooper is – dude, you hit it right on the head. I've been a Amari Cooper owner before, and I actually do like him. But also, to the other point that you made, which I think is phenomenal, which has nothing to do with his football skills, it's financially, too, as well, as he's getting $20 million over the next 4 years. And eventually, that's going to run out because he's getting up there in age. He's great at what he does. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, Dallas has too many mouths to feed. They've already fed a lot of the mouths, and they got some more to feed. So he will, I think, probably the next year or 2 will be a cap casualty, unfortunately. But, again, it's just the way the world of football works. It's a what have you done for me lately world, and that's just what it is. One guy I will say on there who I am very what's the word I'm looking for? I am very interested. Interested in is Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's somebody that piques my interest a lot, just because the fact is you just really don't know what the Eagles are going to have this year, what they're going to bring this year. All new offense, all new coaching staff, new quarterback. You don't know if Zach Ertz is coming or going, if they're going to cut him or what. But just being the number one pick overall for the offense, who desperately needs a wide receiver, look for him to get the ball force fed a little bit. In my opinion, I think the Eagles are going to be an RPO team. I think they're going to be very similar to what they were in the past. It makes sense because they have a real good athlete quarterback. They got some good athletes on the outside. Just makes a lot of sense. But he's something that piques my interest. I'm not saying he's going to be a Justin Jefferson of last year. That dude is phenomenal, but he might be the closest thing this year in the rookie NFL draft to Justin Jefferson. So that's just kind of my opinion on it. That's what I think about it. He might be a guy you can get in the 10th, 11th, 12th round, possibly, maybe the 8th. Maybe somebody you can get as a low-end flex, and some guy throughout the year who can help you tremendously with injuries and bye weeks, and maybe he catches fire and maybe might be able to lead you to a championship too as well. So him to me is slightly underrated. Another guy I'm just going to say, Chase Claypool. I think he's underrated. I know Big Ben's his quarterback, but Big Ben loves a deep ball. He's a deep threat. He's some guy I would look for as low as he's ranked too as well. If I had to pick one guy who I personally think is overrated this year, man, I hate saying this. I really, really do. I think it's Stephon Diggs. I really do. I hate saying that. I think Stephon Diggs. I think he's overrated this year. So I really do. I think that last year, everything that could have gone right for Buffalo with the passing game did. I don't see Stephon Diggs repeating what he did last year. I don't see Josh Allen repeating what he did last year. Just because the fact is, like I said earlier, all the reports in Buffalo are coming out really good on Zach Moss. This isn't a dig at Diggs. This is just thinking that there's lots more where that came from this season. It's just me and my belief in Zach Moss. I think they're going to run the ball more. They got to protect their quarterback. They got to protect everybody. They got to make sure Josh Allen is healthy. Josh Allen's a big dude. He's going to be fine, but still, just if you run the ball more, take the ball out of his hands a little more, less hits, less scrambling, less running, healthier quarterback. Just kind of how the game flows. Plus, if you can get that running game going, your offense is going to be better overall. So, but I just think Stephon Diggs, slightly overrated. I'd probably take him about the 3rd round. That's where I'd probably cap out on him right now. He's going in the high 2, low 1, which is fine, but just my opinion.
Very true.
So, all right, Mario, let's do kickers and defense.
No.
Why? There's overrated kickers.
Let me see if I can name one. Oh, wait, I can't.
Dan Bailey.
Yes, very overrated.
He's gone. Be gone, barely. So, all
Nick
right. Who?
Nick Folk.
Nick Folk? Yeah. Adam Vinatieri? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that guy's way overrated.
Yeah, 45 years old. He's still freaking kick a 60-yard field goal, probably.
True.
In the snow, in a blizzard, in Foxborough with no Tom Brady. No problem. Got it covered. All right, last thing we're going to talk about, we're going to scratch the surface on this tight ends. This is a little bit trickier, of course, because tight ends, there's not really a whole lot of talent pool in there. And what I mean by that, there's not a huge deviation. You got Kelsey and then Kittle and then Waller. Sorry, then kind of everybody else. So you got the top 3, and then you kind of got the rest. I guess you could put Mark Andrews in there if you really wanted to in the top tight ends. So one guy who I think is underrated this year, and this is going to come to a surprise, I'm going to say it, Kyle Pitts. Just going to say it, man. I have all the belief in the world on this guy. I think he's absolutely going to crush it. I think he's going to be just as good as George Kittle at the end of the year. I think you're going to be saying he's going to be a tight end superstar. You're going to put him up there with Travis Kelce. You're going to put him up with George Kittle. You're going to put him up with all those guys at the end of the year. He's one of those guys who's just going to boom. I don't think he's going to bust. He's getting drafted like the 6th, 7th, 8th round or something like that. But seeing that they just lost Julio Jones in Atlanta, those balls got to go to somebody. You're looking at a division. They're going to play against the Bucs twice this year, the Saints twice this year, and the Panthers twice this year. So all those games, they're not going to be low scoring. I don't care who you are. It's going to be like 45, 43, 28, 35. All those games are going to be freaking just absolute, just what do they call it? The air raid offense, right? It's just going to be air raided all day. So that being said, Kyle Pitts is going to take over Julio Jones' position. Julio Jones, sorry. He's going to crush it. He's going to go off in Atlanta. They got a solid quarterback in Matt Ryan, so he's going to be thoroughly underrated this year. You can basically mark that. I'm going to stamp that right there. Just give it a good old stamp. So one guy who I think is overrated this year is going to be Dallas Goedert for Philly. Just because the fact is, like I said earlier, you just don't know what the offense is going to be like. He's rated top 10 tight end. That's really hard for me to say because he's never been a top 10 tight end before. He might have cracked it last year at the end of the year. But at the end of the day, you still got Zach Ertz there. You're going to have an RPO offense. It's still going to be tough. You're still going to have Sanders there as the running back. There's still going to be a lot of mouths to feed in that offense too as well. So that's one guy I would draft a little bit higher, be Kyle Pitts. One guy I would pump my brakes on a little bit, ease up on the drafting per se. As the kids would say, pump the brakes. I think the kids say that now. Is that what they say, pump the brakes?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I have no idea. I just say hold up. So, but again, it's just me. So yeah, but that's just one guy I would just hold up on, or just kind of slow down, or maybe not draft. So if you had to tell me to draft somebody else instead of him, I'd probably take Gronk over him, and Gronk is much lower on the list than he is. So
true.
Just yeah. So, anyways, Marty, what do you got for the tight ends, man? You want to say who you think is overrated, underrated, or you can't pick the Dolphins tight end, man?
I guess. Thank you, Tyler. For tight ends, for me, the one I'm really high on now that old AA Ron has come back is Robert Tonyan. I think he's going to have a great season this year, even though they got Randall Cobb, old man Cobb, back in Green Bay. They still got – he's back. He is. Mr. Corn of the Cobb back in the lineup.
He's going to be a special assistance coach after the 6th game.
But, yes, I am back high on Robert Tonyan. In the couple drafts I've done so far, I wasn't going to draft him just because I didn't think Aaron Rodgers was going to play. So, didn't even look at the guy. Someone I'm very low on and have been he's on my do not draft list, much like Tyler is on a certain running back.
No.
I tell you later. Is freaking Evan Ingram for the Giants. The dude he's had, well, this is what, his 3rd season?
4th, or I think 3rd or 4th, something like that. Yeah,
3rd or 4th. He's had one good game in 4 seasons as a tight end, maybe one. So anyway, I mean he's above Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee, Austin Hooper. He's above Gronk. He's above Eric Ebron. He needs to be ranked as low as Jared Cook or Blake Jarwin on the list. Currently, he's ranked 14th. He needs to be down at 24. So do not draft Evan Ingram. Don't do it. Just don't do it. So that's who I'm kind of low and high on for the tight ends. And for the running backs this year, I am really high on good old Mike Davis for Atlanta. I think he's going to have a great season this year.
One thing I will say about Mike Davis last year, Marty, is that when he came in for Christian McCaffrey, he absolutely had a great run. He did fall off a little bit at the end, but I see where you're going with that. Having a Mike Davis running back as your bell cow in Atlanta is a huge upgrade for Todd Gurley. So I can definitely see what the attraction is on that for him.
Right. He's a great running back, too, even a flex option, too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he's not on my do not draft list, but he's on somebody's do not draft list.
No, I'm drafting him.
No, you're not going to draft him. I know you're not going to draft him. Is Mr. Mixon for Cincinnati.
Cool.
He's the epitome of inconsistent.
Oh, he's always broke.
He's always – he can't finish a full season. He's the running back version of Amari Cooper. He'll have 2 good games. You're like, all right, go forward with Joe Mixon all year long. And then it's 10, 11 points for the rest of the season. And you're like, man, why can't – Joe Mixon would have just got one more touchdown or just broke that tackle, blah, blah, blah. All your should, coulda, wouldas. No. So I'm really low on Joe Mixon. He's ranked 12th. I think that Sanders is going to have a better season. J.K. Dobbins will have a better season. The Clydesdale is going to have a better season than he will. So
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I know he's the number one option in Cincinnati, but I'm low on Joe Mixon as a running back this year. So
Yeah, and one more point to add on about Joe Mixon too that's really tough is that they play in a tough division. They play in a black and blue division, no matter how you slice it. The Steelers have a really good defense. The Browns have a really good defense, and the Bengals. Who am I missing? Missing somebody.
Ravens.
Who?
Ravens.
Oh yeah, they always have a good defense. So you're looking at 6 teams right there. 6 teams where it's going to be a tough sledding. And also too, the Bengals have the most 3 wide receiver sets out of anybody in the NFL. I believe, other than the Rams, maybe. I think I might be off on that, but they're number 2. So also with that, Joe Mixon's not going to have 2 tight ends. He's not going to have a fullback, nothing like that. So it's basically him on whoever he gets one-on-one. He is a good running back, but also it's going to make him very limited too as well. So yeah, those are all great points on that. Just one other running back I'm going to add on there who is on my list of being too low is Antonio Gibson. I absolutely love this guy. He was basically everything you would want last year. After I'd probably say the first 8 games and more, him and Jonathan Taylor probably right there 1A and 1B for the rookies. Antonio Gibson, I think, is going to have a better overall season just because of the fact that the division they play in, the defenses are a little bit weaker. It's no slide against the rest of the NFL, the rest of the team, but Dallas defense last year was probably one of the worst in the history of the NFL. Philly has their issues. Washington, it has the best defense in that division. That's why they made the playoffs. And the New York Giants they're always rebuilding. So I guess that's a good way of putting it. They're still rebuilding. So, but anyways, that's just what I think. That's just my thought. So Antonio Gibson, if you can get him, somewhere in the 8th, 9th, 10th pick overall, and you say you're in a 12-man team league, you can flip him and then maybe go get a Austin Eckler or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, dude, your 2 running backs are really solid. You can't go wrong there whatsoever. So if you want to do that and then like a DeAndre Hopkins, that way you get like 1A and 1A. Again, that's really solid however you want to do that. Or maybe if you can do that and then Jonathan Taylor. Now you have 2 really solid running backs. So just, depending on how you want to do your draft. Obviously, depending on what league you're in, you also want to draft accordingly to your league. If you're in a non-PPR league, which means non-point per reception, you want to be focused on the running backs more than the wide receivers. If you're in a half PPR league, you really want to try to balance it out, try to figure out the point structure and how that works. And also, too, if you're in a full PPR league, you might want to lean towards wide receivers in rounds 2 and 3 if you get that solid stud running back like a Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry or something like that. So just make sure you plan your strategy accordingly to what your structure is. If you do like a super flex team or a super flex league or a flex league or keeper league or however you do it, in your league, just make sure that you know the point structure. Make sure you know how everybody else drafts, because the more you know about how you draft and they draft, the point structure is going to lead you to a better draft day. And remember, when you're drafting, it's just the first part of the season. It's just the first inch, the first mile. It's the first mile. You got a long ways to go. You got a lot of territory to cover. Injuries going to be really prevalent this year with the new restrictions they got going on, the new rules, everything. It's going to be a really interesting season. It's always going to be a constant revolution this year more than anything else. So just be prepared for the unexpected. So draft wisely and also to draft accordingly to how your league is structured so you have the best chance to get in to the playoffs, get into the top 2 teams, and hopefully get your championship that you deserve. So.
Very true. Very, very true.
So, but anyways, Marty, anything else you want to say to that with the point structure system, how to draft accordingly, any words of advice for our young grasshoppers out there, or old grasshoppers?
You said it pretty clearly right there. It's just watch who you drafted and draft according to your league's rules and point structure.
Yes.
So yeah, do that, and I don't see any problem seeing anybody with winning champions this year if you listen to what we say.
Yes. Believe it or not, guys, we've actually done some drafts together. Believe it or not, I think we've done 9 now together. 8 or 9 together. And nine times out of 10, we're usually 1 and 2 in the rankings or in the rankings, however you want to say it, when we're done drafting. But again, we also know that that's great, to have, whatever, 1, 2, 4, 5, 12, 11. At the beginning of the season, none of that really matters. It matters on what kind of moves you make, if you get the right guys, how you construct your roster, how you do the trades, all that stuff. So, just take that with a grain of salt. It's great that, if you draft in the league and if they have you higher to start off with, that's great. Good job. That means you've done some draft research. And that way, like we were saying earlier, you've done your research, you know the point system, you've done all that together. So congratulations. Great job. Great first step. Give yourself a pat on the back. But other than that, hey, man, let's keep grinding. Let's keep going. We're going to give you some great advice throughout the whole year. Check us out. We are Two Fools in Fantasy Football. I am Tyler, the uncool Fool Greer, and this is
Marty McFly, and welcome back to a brand new season, everybody. Looking forward to doing a lot more videos this year.
That's right.
We did last year, so
that's right. And we're gonna be so much better this year. We're so much more comfortable. We're gonna have all the great information you got last year. We're gonna be adding on. You're gonna get so much awesome stuff, all for free. Just watch our channel, please. Like, subscribe, share, add, tell everybody, man. We are just here. We want to get football knowledge, man. That's what we love to do. We're very passionate about giving information, giving knowledge, helping everybody to achieve their ultimate goal, which is to win the championship, and also to get better. Because, if you like fantasy football, you keep playing it. I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and so has Marty. And it's just fun because you add on years of experience, you add on years of wisdom, and you just get better and better. And that's the fun part about it. But there's always a new challenge. So
that's true.
But anyways, thank you, everybody. Thank you for the subscribers. We're looking to have a great season with you. We're looking to just pound that like button, get those subscriptions up, get everybody on our channel, and just let everybody know the good news about Tyler and Marty. So we're back, guys.
Welcome back, everybody.
So, all right. I am Tyler, the Uncool Fool Greer. I am out.